We get some cyclonic flow, we call it. And so both of those things, along with the terrain, are going to make for a decent snow in the mountains, kind of watching late Tuesday into early Thursday time frame. Some we see that there. And you see in this
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
Good morning, crew. It is Monday. It is February 9th. You are watching live Mornings with Meister here on Peaks2Plains Weather. I'm a little bit delayed because as I was going to set everything up, I found out the streaming system that sends my lives everywhere, I needed to re-log into social media, so that took a couple minutes because you got a two-factor authentication and all of that stuff. But what's cool about it is we get to it when we get to it, and here we are. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl yesterday? Some folks, I think, thought it was boring for a while. I don't mind defensive struggles myself. I mean, obviously the best team won. I think everybody knew going into it that Seattle was better. The Patriots had one of the easiest schedules in a long time in the NFL. And so, you know, was what it was. some consternation about the halftime show as well. I did think that the camera work of that show was amazing, and how they had all of like the little sets set up out on the field. I thought that was pretty cool. Let me do a little bit of quick sort of weather here as we jump in. If you have a comment you'd like to make, go ahead and jump in on social media. You can use the links that I put on the posts as well, and you can join me here on the show if you would like. We can talk about the Super Bowl, talk about the weather coming up this week, whatever you want to do. Peaks2Plains Weather's our weather together, and it's for you. It was beautiful yesterday, well into the 50s for a lot of mountain valley areas, 65 in the Springs, 70 or so along the Arkansas River. Today's going to be a little bit of a different day. And I'm going to start off with Banjo's barometer here to give you kind of the heads up of today. Like, is it going to be nice or not? How is it going to feel? Well, Banjo's like, what do you mean it's a different day out there today? I'm going with a 7, which isn't bad. It's just not the 9s and 10s we had from Friday through the weekend. Is going to be a little bit different out there, and we'll talk about why here in a second. Banjo's got some buddies, too. This is a new segment we're starting off here. You can submit your four-legged friends, cats, dogs. It can be fish, bearded dragons, whatever. Brian sent this in to me over the weekend. It was actually his idea to say, are you going to do a Banjo's Buddies? And I'm like, yeah, I might as well do that. So, Brian, you are starting it off here. Took his Goldens up to Golden, the Goldens in Golden event on Saturday, which was a stunning day for that. And I can't imagine all of the pee that happens with all of the Goldens out there checking everything out. And, of course, you know, but a lot of fun. Goldens in Golden, I love that. That is a growing event every year for sure. Okay, here's the headline weather-wise today, and this is why I went with a 7 on Banjo's barometer. We have a red flag warning that is up. It starts at 10, lasts until 6 o'clock. My friends at the National Weather Service issued this from the slopes of Pikes Peak, southward through the eastern mountains, the valleys, in Wet Mountain Valley, straddling I-25 from Pueblo County off to the south here, and then running east across the Raton Mesa. And a red flag warning is issued when a couple of different weather criteria are going to be met during a day. One of them is that the wind will be over, I think it's 25 miles per hour, and the humidity level will be below 15% for at least 3 hours in the area where the red flag warning is issued. And the other thing that has to be met is that the conditions have to be dry at the surface, grasses, bushes, and things like that. And checking in with the local folks, the Weather Service, some of the fire agencies have told them that, yeah, those conditions are met from a dryness perspective. And then the Weather Service obviously doing their part in the weather condition, you know, to make sure that everybody is aware that weather conditions and the dryness will be met today, that if we were to get a fire, it could spread very, very quickly. So what I like to say is do your part to make sure that we don't have to worry about that. Be a good neighbor. Make sure everybody in southern Colorado is going to be safe today. So here is why that is one of the things we're concerned about today. Check out the wind gusts, and you can see here as we run into the late part of the morning and the gusts pick up where you see those bright orange shaded areas. That's where we could get some gusts over 30 miles per hour. Mainly along the eastern slopes here until we hit the middle part of the day, and we start to see it kind of spreading eastward here around Walsenburg, and then eventually even from Canyon City over to Pueblo in what we call the gap flow areas. So La Vida Pass is a lower spot in the Rockies. Bighorn Canyon's a lower spot in the Rockies. And that's where the wind can squeeze through a little bit easier. And so it's kind of easier for the wind to kind of shoot east of the Rocky Mountains in those areas. And these are some typical spots that we see because of how our terrain is in southern Colorado. And so we have a special name for them because we do see that enough. It'll be, noticeably breezy in some other areas as well, but you see some spots won't be as breezy. So typical Colorado fashion, just kind of depends where you are. But as we head through the middle part of the afternoon, that gap flow wind may make it all the way toward Crowley and Otero counties here. And this is downslope flow today. That does a couple things. As the atmosphere loses elevation, if you sort of force it downward, you warm the air up and you dry it out. And so we measure that combination in terms of relative humidity. And notice what happens here as we get into the middle of the day, east of the mountains, we see the humidity levels in the single digits and teens. It's relative to the temperature. So the amount of moisture, if you have the same amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and let's say the temperature is, let's say the dew point's 20 and the temperature is 30, you're gonna have a lot higher relative humidity than if the temperature is 60 and the dew point is 20. So it's relative to the temperature. But we've studied that fire conditions or fire spread increases when the humidity levels get below 15%, like we're going to have out there today. And so that is one of the things that we're concerned about. Now, there's a benefit to it, that downslope flow. I mean, we're going to be really warm. That's a comfort thing for us to be outside. In fact, warm enough today with the wind and the air mass that we have overhead that I think we're going to flirt with some records. I think we end up just shy of them. I think the best chance of catching one today probably is in Alamosa. We'll be knocking up against the door of it. I think we're going to be a few degrees shy in Pueblo, and Colorado Springs will be a little bit closer, I think, than we end up in Pueblo. But so, you know, temperature-wise, really, really good day to be outside. It's just a little bit sort of, you know, I have to let you know about the fire weather concerns, obviously. So, okay. Let's check in with some folks here that want to say good morning. Martha is checking in. Good morning, Martha. Jeremy has a comment about the game, says other than the fourth quarter, thought the game was a snooze. Yeah, you know, the offense got those couple touchdowns late in the game, so that changed things up just a little bit. Erica's checking in and says, headed to Cottonwood Hot Springs this weekend. How will the weather be in mountains for Valentine's Day? Hopefully hot, Erica, if you know what I'm saying. There will be some fresh snow in the mountains, though. As we move through the tail end of the week here, we do see the pattern change shift up a little bit. So I'm going to talk about that here as we jump into the extended forecast. And to do that, I'm going to head over to the weather wall here and give you a little bit of an extension of what happens tonight and then into the next several days. Because tonight will stay a little bit gusty here, and that's as a cold front approaches and then moves through. And so you can see on the wind gusts here that watch the eastern plains as we move through the evening. We'll see the wind out of the north. Let me come back in here. That's because there's a little wave that moves overhead today that brings a cold front through. I do think we'll get a little bit of gusty wind as it comes in. And tomorrow morning, I think we're in the 20s and 30s outside of the big mountain valleys. But you'll notice the difference in temperature tomorrow with 40s and 50s across the area. So we take a noticeable step back here, and we won't be as windy on Tuesday as we're going to be out there today. Skycast on Tuesday, we'll have some high clouds. We start to get the flow coming up from the southwest ahead of a weather change for the rest of the week. And we don't necessarily get any moisture to start other than maybe late in the day, a couple flurries up high in the southwestern corner of the state. Skycast isn't overly excited about that, but we do end up with a period here where we get sustained flow out of the west. And that is going to change our weather up in a big way. Outside this morning, we're warmer in some spots, and we're going to be tomorrow behind that cold front, but there's a lot of temperature variation out there. Eads is down to 18, chilly spots in the Arkansas River and in the big mountain valleys, and some places flirting with 50. Good morning. If you're heading up to Denver, it's 47. A little bit of a breeze there out of the southwest already. Castle Rock, it is 48. That's one of the warmer spots there. Colorado Springs, Monument, the north end of the metro area, not much in the way of wind yet. We may have a little bit of wind in this area later on today. And then Interquest is 39. With a couple high clouds overhead, catching a little bit of color out there this morning. Falcon running 39 as well. So really, given the time of year, it's a comfortable start to the day for a lot of areas. 25 in Cascade, up Ute Pass, not bad. See some of that color there in Woodland Park where it's noticeably warmer at 42. So again, just kind of depends where you are. Let's talk about how the pattern is going to change here. I alluded to it, right? So right now, we've got flow coming at us out of the northwest. But you can see some moisture here over the western United States. This is the developing pattern change that we're going to watch because the ridge of high pressure is going to break down a little bit. It's flattening out now, kind of shifting off to the south, and we're going to see a trough develop here over the western U.S. So I'm going to put the energy in the atmosphere on the map here so we can watch things change as we head over the next several days. This is the wave that sends a cold front in tonight, but this is the more significant change for later in the week. And so as we head into Wednesday here, this thing, the moisture from it that's kind of around in the base of the trough, starts pumping into the higher terrain of the western U.S., including Colorado. And we are going to get some much needed snow over the mountains of Colorado here as we head through the middle and back part of the week, especially as we move from Thursday into Friday and this trough starts getting closer to us and eventually is going to move across the neighborhood here as we head from Friday into Friday night. The last week in the models with this thing, the evolution, man, it looks way different now than it looked like it was going to be. I had some snow in the forecast. If I go back about a week, it had some chances of snow along the front range for Wednesday. I don't have that anymore. I think our best chance of some moisture here will be as this thing moves across our area as we head from sort of the back part of the week into the start of the weekend. And let me show you what I mean. This first wave stays up to the north enough that other than the temperature drop, we don't get any moisture. Then we start to watch this thing take shape here. The moisture out ahead of it starts bringing snow into Colorado as we head into Wednesday, and you can see that happening there for the mountains. And we'll get an extended period of some snow into Thursday. I think some places will get more than a foot, and that's great news. We really, really need that. Temperatures will come down after Wednesday. So we come down tomorrow. We'll get a bump on Wednesday before we start to come back down again. And the heart of the system on Thursday is still off to our west. And we may get some showers here as we head from late Thursday into Friday east of the mountains. This is going to be less organized than whatever happens with this system here kicking across Arizona and New Mexico as we move into late Friday and Friday evening. And that's going to be a nice little organized system here. We just have to figure out how far north or south it's going to be. Right now it looks like areas south of Highway 50 might get a decent shot at some moisture as we move into Friday night. That would be good news. We certainly need it there. So temps will come up Wednesday behind the drop we get tomorrow. Then we come back down Thursday into Friday, late Thursday into Friday evening, or Thursday into Thursday evening, I should say. And then again with that system late Friday, that'll be kind of our chance of some moisture. We'll be quiet after that, not as warm as we were this weekend, but the coming weekend still looks mainly dry across the area and pretty warm. So, we do have changes on the way. It is a different week, certainly, from what we had out there last week. And, something we'll be ready for. And we're going to have to take the evolution of this system kind of day by day here and do the tweaks on it, because some of that moisture off to the south of Highway 50 could be pretty decent by the time we hit Friday. Again, it's just all going to depend on where that system goes. So a couple things here early this morning, my friends. I want to let you know to download the Peaks2Plains Weather app if you haven't done that yet. Easiest way to do it, I think, is to go to, a couple places. I mean, you can search it in the App Store, Google Play. I tried to make it real easy for you on the homepage of Peaks2PlainsWeather.com. You just click on download the app there, and it shoots you to the middle of the page where you can download it on Google Play or the App Store. Why do I keep harping on the app? Because that's where I get to do the most work to give you the most detailed forecast for where you are with all the wacko terrain stuff that we have in southern Colorado. So thanks for joining me today. I'm going to give you a real quick word from one of our sponsors, and I do have one more thing to talk about.
Another attorney commercial with big promises? Millions of dollars, practicing law 24 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Let's get rid of the smoke and mirrors. None of that really matters. What does matter? Having a medical doctor as your attorney. That matters.
Okay, so here's the other thing I want to talk about before I send you off to your day here, and it's the drought conditions in the snowpack over southern Colorado because the drought continues to deepen sort of in the central part of the state, north of Buena Vista up toward Leadville, kind of from Copper Mountain toward Leadville. You kind of see that darkest red just south of Vail where we have some deep drought. And then from Aspen up Roaring Fork toward Glenwood Springs, and then areas to the north. And that is related to snowpack because it continues to not be good across the state of Colorado. And so that's why the snow that's on the way this week is certainly some good news. We are running anywhere from about 45% to 60% of average, and we are almost at half of average on snowpack. We continue to be at the low end of the data set that started in the late 70s. So it's not good up across Colorado's high country in terms of how much snow we have. We need it in a big way. And we are in a time here where, we tend to get more water. We're transitioning into that now that we're sort of moving toward mid-February, where there tends to be more water in the snow versus the late part of December and January when it can be more airy. So that's good news. But to get back to average, we would need about 8 feet of snow. And obviously the pattern just doesn't seem like it's been that favorable for that. So I wanted to let you know about that today before I get you out on your way. Emily's jumping in here and says that, hey, we use the weather app every day and we love it. Thanks for the work on it. Emily, thank you for that. I am trying to, work really hard to make that a useful product for you. The 24-hour channel is in there. You can check the current conditions hour by hour for where you are, the extended forecast as well. You can put other conditions in the app. Like I have my son's college town in Indiana in there. I'm obviously not doing work on that forecast, but it does work across the country and across the world. But I'm hand editing that data here in southern Colorado. I'm going to do that now for our extended forecast and take a deeper dive into that system for the late part of the week. But today, be ready for the warmth, be ready for the wind, share Peaks to Plains with your friends, neighbors, coworkers. I would appreciate that. And my friends, have a great Monday out there, the day after Super Bowl. Lots of folks say that this should be a national holiday. It's not yet, but do what you can to have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.